welcome to the Red Lovers Tasting, and thank you for your interest in support of Prince Michel Winery. As we move through this tasting, you'll see there are a lot of glasses here. Feel free at any time to pause and then pick back up later when you're ready. So let's begin. First wine on the list is the Cabernet Franc, and Cabernet Franc is a grape that it comes to us from the Bordeaux region of France. It's one of the noble grapes of Bordeaux. It has been taking off in Virginia vineyards like wildfire, and it's hard to come across a vineyard that's not doing something with Cabernet Franc. Reason is it grows so well. In the early days we tried to grow Cabernet Sauvignon with limited success. Cabernet Franc was a nice kind of substitute for that big, earthy, dry red wine. So it reminds me of rich cherry, maybe some spiciness. Roasted coffee beans comes to mind as well. Spends a little bit of time in the oak barrels. Depends on the vintage and the strength of the flavors, but anywhere from maybe 10-15 months upwards of 18 months to 2 years in the barrel. Because of its flavor profile, it really pairs well with roasted pork or lamb, even some hard cheeses, some good tartness coming from the cheese. Very nice. Our second wine on the list is our Prince Michel Merlot. And Merlot is also one of the Bordeaux varieties. And this one, the Cabernet Franc brings kind of that chocolate or coffee bean toasted character. The Merlot is just a fruit bomb. It's packed with raspberry and bramble kind of character. Some even might offer a little sweetness without any sweetness being there. But this one shows a little bit of earthiness and some soft vanilla. But you can see the difference between, say, the Cabernet Franc and then the full-bodied fruitiness of the Merlot. Because of that, this really finds its place with rich, cheesy foods like gratins, maybe even Italian tomato-based dishes. Cool thing is you can even try this experiment with chocolate, dark chocolate. It seems like a marriage made in heaven. Our third wine on the list is our Merlot Cabernet Reserve. Now, as the name implies, this is a blend between Merlot and Cabernet. In this case, it's Cabernet Sauvignon. There's about 85% Merlot and 15% Cabernet Sauvignon. And the reason we did this was to try to showcase the best of each grape without one overpowering the other. And I get with this one, I can taste what the Merlot is bringing, that softness, that mellowness. But also, when I taste this, I see what the Cabernet Sauvignon is bringing, which is a structure, kind of a backbone of the wine. And what that does is gives it some longevity, but also helps kind of expand its ability to go with different types of food. Also picking up a little bit of cherry smoke and some vanilla in the aroma. This one I would pair with red meats, seared or grilled. Roasted vegetables come to mind with this one. Eggplant perhaps, maybe mushrooms. Also hard cheeses and olives. In France, you'll find most of the Bordeaux wines, not all of them, are blends of these varieties. Seems like the Americans, we try to go with 100% varietals, which is kind of fun sometimes, but from a winemaking standpoint, I love to do blending. Cabernet Sauvignon. Cabernet Sauvignon is kind of the granddaddy of those Bordeaux varieties. As I said earlier, it is, I say backbone or structure. Cabernet Sauvignon has a tremendous amount of tannins, natural tannins developed in the grapes. The skins have tannins, the seeds have tannins. And Cabernet Sauvignon, when it's young, really is astringent, puckers up the mouth. But as it ages in the barrel, those tannins really mellow out. Big notes of cedar, maybe a little black pepper perhaps. Big fruit, if you taste a lot of California Cab Sauv, people say jammy, which is very typical of something from Napa. I wouldn't necessarily say jammy. This goes a little bit closer to the European style. It's a little bit reserved. I think it's a great food wine. I'm thinking with Cabernet Sauvignon, really pan-seared ribeyes, kind of fattier cuts of meat, dry-aged prime rib. Even you might even go towards the pepper-encrusted ahi tuna, or a big grilled portobello mushroom. That sounds delicious. All right, now we've got some interesting wines coming along here that you may not be familiar with. The first one here are Silver Creek Orchard, which is a vineyard that we work with down in Nelson County. They bring to us just a gorgeous Petit Verdot, and Petit Verdot is one more of those noble Bordeaux grapes. In the typical Bordeaux blend, it's a very small amount. It brings to us this tremendous amount of color and to me, a kind of a smokiness. Even when it's not in the barrel, there's a smokiness and also kind of an earthy undertone. Some people say it reminds them of blueberry juice or even wild violets. Just a really fun one to work with, and it does go into some of the blends. This one is 100% Petit Verdot. More and more of the Virginia vineyards are starting to work with Petit Verdot, and I'm a big fan of Petit Verdot. So yeah, I really get that spicy vanilla characteristic, but again, to me, dark fruit juice like blueberry. There might be even a stray violet in there. Because of that flavor profile, it really lends itself towards kind of wild game, turkey and boar, sausages, smoky spiced pork, semi-soft cheeses, and even chocolate, much like the Merlot. This one, because it has, like the Merlot, it has a lot less tannin, say, than the Cabernet Sauvignon or Merlot Cab. So it's a very soft wine, and that really seems to lend itself to anything with chocolate in there. All right, so we have another one of our vineyard sources, Crown Orchard, which is located down in Charlottesville, not too, almost adjacent to Monticello, right on top of the mountain. Gorgeous growing conditions. Well, this is a reserve Cabernet Sauvignon that we make from that vineyard, and much like the Cabernet Sauvignon we just tasted, this one has the earthy aromas and those notes of pepper and a little bit of cedar and cherry. It ages longer because this is a reserve. This one is aged for close to 3 years in the barrel before it's being released. Again, it doesn't come out overly oaky, but has just a nice layering of flavors. Grilled lamb, venison, maybe even Yorkshire pudding, that classic European or English connection there. There's nothing like aging the wines to really get them to express their characteristics. Now for one of our favorites, Symbius. Symbius is simply a made-up word. My wife and I sat around and tasted a few glasses of wine and tried to come up with a name that embodied, bringing different grape varieties together for a better wine. Symbiosis, symbiotic. And year after year, we're making Symbius. Some years we won't make it. It has to meet a certain quality growing condition. It has to be the best of the best growing seasons. It's always a blend of all of the varieties, the Bordeaux varieties that we can get. But it changes every time we do a vintage. Sometimes it'd be more Merlot, sometimes more Cabernet Sauvignon. But it definitely is an offering of Merlot, Cabernet Franc, Cabernet Sauvignon, and Petit Verdot in any number of percentages and expressions. for those of you who are fans of our Symbius, we've been doing this now since 2002 was our very first, and many years. Dark fruit, lots and lots of dark fruit, like blackberry and black currant. Get a little bit of that violet characteristic. Very velvety and kind of subtle. This one is made for really aging a long time. We have some in the library that goes back to 2005, and it is just absolutely fabulous. I wish everybody could share that. Food, I would also include this with fatty cuts of red meat, rib meat, lamb, salty cheeses, smoked fish, and roasted game. Some of those really nice and savory kind of dishes. So yeah, that's a fun one. Well, that concludes our tasting. I'd like to encourage you to chat with one of our sales associates. Find out more about how you can join one of our wine clubs.